Hey people, Wall here with another very special update. Of course, we're on Wallcraft today, and we are going to be taking a look at the new Frost Mage rework. Very special, very excited. Yesterday was the Shaman rework, day before that was the Holy Priest rework. Haven't had time to make videos, been working very hard from sunrise to sunrise the next day, but we have a lot of changes, a lot of new special things. Some of them you'll see right away, some of them you won't recognize until we delve right into it, so let's not delay. First up, we're going to be looking at the Frost Mage rework. I said that this would probably come last. I still actually have to do Shadow Priest, which is last. I saved the two specs that were really kind of the most viable in vanilla, or at least the least flawed in vanilla, for last, which was obviously Shadow Priest and Frost Mage, as well as Resto Shaman and Holy Priest, as those are considered very good specs to begin with, but I did give them the Wallcraft treatment and gave them some very special things, so we'll delve right into the talents. First off, what you'll notice is Cold Snap is missing. That's because Ice Block has been moved up to its place, and of course Ice Barrier has been moved into the place of Ice Block. So these two talents are now accessible 10 levels earlier. Ice Block is available at level 20, Ice Barrier is available at level 30. Cold Snap is now a baseline ability. So, actually, still got to put that on our bar here. So, Cold Snap is a baseline ability, with Ice Block and Ice Barrier being a little bit more accessible. Ice Block in particular being accessible in the other talent trees, and you could even opt to take Ice Barrier over Combustion or Arcane Power, depending on what spec you're playing. So this will give a little bit more survivability in terms of playing an Arcane Mage. Obviously, you're sacrificing a lot less burst. Fire Mage, I really wouldn't suggest forsaking Combustion, but if you're playing a Frost Fire spec, it's definitely worthwhile. So those are the two good old talents. Something that you'll notice here as well, Winter's Chill now affects all spells, not just Frost. So the effect has been reduced to 5% total with 5 stacks, but it now grants 5% additional spell crit against targets who are affected by Winter's Chill for all spell schools. So it's very universally good. You'll definitely want a Frost Mage in your raid, stacking the Winter's Chill debuff. And because of the last talent being something brand new, which we'll get to after we talk about this one right up here, let's get right into this one. Water Elemental, a fan favorite. This is the original Water Elemental, the one that was designed for Alpha WoW but never made it into Vanilla. It's a very low spell ID, in fact. Spell ID is like 756, in fact, so very, very low spell ID. You can tell that it's one of the first 1,000 spells made into the game, and we're talking World of Warcraft, a game with 30,000 spells. It's pretty significant for it not to have made it into Vanilla. The Wallcraft Water Elemental handles very well. It's actually funny too, because the Water Elemental that's used, it's typically, if you ever use it, it's labeled ZZ Old Water Elemental. If you ever summon it, it's actually pretty bad. It's pretty mediocre. All I had to do though was make one change, and it turns out that Blizzard actually had all the spells assigned for it. It just wasn't usable in the current state, so all I had to do was just enable those spells, and voila. You'll see that it has the Foul Chill spell, which increases frost damage taken by an enemy by 50 for 2 minutes. Very nice little debuff. And it has the standard Frostbolt, 90 mana Frostbolt, so this thing does scale with your level. Depending on what level you are, it will be equal level to you, as well the health and mana scale, so the Frostbolt becomes a lot more viable as you progress, because you'll have a lot higher of a mana pool, and the damage also increases, of course. So we'll just take a look. This functions much like a normal Warlock or Hunter pet, the way that I have it assigned. So you have a fair amount of control over it. And because, of course, Wallcraft is vanilla, I want it to have, you know, the vanilla-esque flavor to it. So Wallcraft creatures and whatnot, if they're present in TBC and not typically in vanilla, you know, when you see them in Wallcraft, they're going to be a lot more vanilla flavored. So it's not going to have the AoE point-and-click Frost Nova, anything like that. It's going to have the basic Frost Bolt and the Foul Chill, which is still very strong. You know, 50% movement speed reduction with the Frost Bolt, some pretty heavy damage, and a debuff that increases all the damage that you're dealing to the target. Very, very staple spell for most considerations. 10-minute cooldown. The Water Elemental lasts for pretty long duration. In fact, I didn't really check the duration. I believe it's 3 minutes total, though. So we'll just let this thing ride out. Of course, let's get into the real show here. This is something that I just finished working on. I have been working on this spell in specific for the last 14 hours straight. It's a very, very heavily scripted spell. It took a lot of work to get it exactly how I wanted it, but I've nailed it. It's perfect, it's beautiful, and you're going to love it. This is Frozen Orb. Frozen Orb launches a slow-moving frozen orb in the direction that you are facing, and this orb will emit a Frost Nova every 2 seconds that damages enemies for a pretty significant amount, and it freezes them in place with a Frost Nova effect for up to 8 seconds. So it's got a 30-second cooldown, it's instant cast, it costs a pretty decent amount of mana, but take a look at it in action here. And this is the Frozen Orb spell. You'll see it's got a very nice cast animation. The spell itself travels along the ground. Now, the way that it works in vanilla, there's not really any type of flying spleens, so the splines that it uses are actually modified flying scripts to travel along the ground smoothly. So if I were to cast it towards a hill, it calculates the endpoint first, and then travels along, so you'll see it slightly rise. If I'm casting it towards a hill, it'll slightly rise. If I were to cast it somewhere with a little bit more of a steep hill, let's take a look here at this steeper hill up here, you'll see it ascend a lot more rapidly. It'll calculate the endpoint of 30 yards. Now, this thing travels 30 yards over 6 seconds, and everything that it hits, it damages pretty significantly. So, let's hit some of these dummies here, and you'll see exactly who it's hitting and what it's hitting. Frozen, look at that. Oh, that's so nice. And like I said, I wanted this to feel kind of like the Diablo Frost Mage here, the Frozen Orb from Diablo. I wanted to add the random frost bolts shooting out from it, but unfortunately the way that the vanilla game engine works, there's a little bit of complication in that. I could probably make something work like that, but I'm very, very satisfied with the iteration that I have presented here. In particular because it freezes the target as well, so you get obviously the bonuses from Shatter and you know, all the little knickknacks of the Frost talent tree to begin with. Complements it very well. So let's just launch it at this big group of enemies here. Start chucking some frost bolts. You'll see we get those nice crit bonuses. Yeah, look at that. Very nice, very nice. We're just gonna keep refreshing the cooldown here. Yeah, so this pet does last quite a long time. I believe it actually might just be the full 10 minutes. I didn't check the duration because it's just the unmodified version of it. The only modifications that were made were the changing it to a pet type instead of just a guardian. And that's because I wanted you to be able to control it as a player instead of having it just randomly aggro whatever you're attacking. And be able to use its spells wisely. Now you'll notice again that mana consumption is a little bit higher than stated on the tooltip. That will be readjusted to reflect tomorrow's patch likely. So, but Frozen Orb, that looks so good. The spell effect, the look of it. What makes this spell truly unique though is that there's nothing in the game like it. There's nothing that sends a spell in a straight line and damages everything around it. There's not, you know, spells are always point targeted or they target an area that's predetermined. I could be running around and I could shoot this thing while I'm jumping. In whatever direction I'm facing, it'll launch. And it'll just slowly float towards the target and blast the hell out of them. So you can see rank 3 is doing some pretty significant damage. It's critting for, 1200. And this does obviously scale with your spell power coefficient. So if I were to mod spell power for 10,000, you'll see that the damage is pretty heavy. So as your gear gets better, it scales. It's very nice. Oop, I actually didn't even mod it. Mod spell 1,000. Oop. Mod spell power. I'm doing mod speed. There we go. Alright, check it now. See the coefficient. Yeah, so it's hitting 2,000s here, 4,000s. Which obviously that's not feasible to actually hit in vanilla. Let's go back to a pretty standard number here. Look at that. Oh, that's a feels good, man. That's a real feels good spell. Like I said, you get the shatter benefits from it. What makes it really special, though, is if you're fighting an enemy, let's just let's spawn a hogger. Give him some health. So yeah, you get the freeze on your enemy, and you'll get some distance. Start casting. Throw the orb, and you get that freeze back on him. Go for cold snap too. And cold snap refreshes it. Ooh, I actually missed. I kited him out of the path. And cold snap it right up. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that's so nice. And then of course ice block being available a little bit earlier is very nice. Very nice. Which, a lot of people out there are probably thinking, does Frost Mage really need a buff? Well, when you consider all the other buffs that all the other specs have received, Frost Mage was actually on the lower end of the power spectrum. But most importantly, I think, is the Winter's Chill, providing the 5% crit chance to all spell schools. This makes it a necessary raid debuff. So it's definitely something that you'll want in your raid. Obviously, Frost Mage is always kind of looked down upon for raiding. It's really good in early phases of progression because you don't really, in typical vanilla at least, because you don't really have the crit or anything else, a lot of fire immunity, and traditionally Arcane is seen as pretty weak. However, you would go like Frost Arcane. Wallcraft solves all of those problems, obviously, so you're going to want to bring an Arcane Mage, a Fire Mage, a Frost Mage. I would even bring, 2 Arcane Mages, 2 Frost Mages, 2 Fire Mages to a raid, and solid comp. But really, there's a lot of flexibility in the numbers. You want one of every spec, though. Really is the big overall goal here. So, I'll throw 2 of them. Yeah, that's a feels good. That's all we've got for today. Obviously, stay tuned for tomorrow's patch. I'll be working on the Shadow Priest. And I'll put out another video after this for the Shaman. And I'll do one for the Priest as well. I know I missed those 2. I've just been really busy with things. Anyways, though, stay tuned for more content. Don't forget to check us out, wallcraft.org. The test server's up 24/7 for you to play. The beta will launch later this year. Monthly tournaments are coming up. Like I said, last Saturday of every month is the tournament. Last Sunday every month is the classroom. So be sure to tune in for those. Come join the tournament. We're doing Warsong Gulch this month. So we're going to have a lot of fun with a lot of people there and just hang out, chill, and do some battlegrounds. And, of course, hardcore mode being present. The server's been a lot more active. Got a lot more players been hanging out, playing the game. I think it's, 7 in the morning right now. We've got a few people leveling. So it's very nice. It's an alpha test server, but more people we have hanging out, the more publicity that we get, more that we'll have for the tournaments, really, which is a big focus right now. Stay tuned, gamers, for more. Wall out.